was because Noah possessed strong faith that he, in implicit obedience, did according to all that God had commanded him. He did just so. GE 6. 22 It was because of his unswerving faith in Jehovah that the Christian writer of the book of Hebrews included him in that so great a cloud of witnesses. He wrote, "By faith Noah, after being given divine warning of things not yet beheld, showed godly fear and constructed an ark for the saving of his household. And through this faith he condemned the world, and he became an heir of the righteousness that is according to faith." Heb 11. 7. 12. 1. 7 days before the flood waters began to fall, Jehovah instructed Noah to gather the animals into the ark. On the 7th day of that week, Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, into the ark ahead of the waters of the deluge. After that Jehovah shut the door behind him. On that very day the flood arrived and destroyed them all. GE 7. 1-16. Lu 17. 27. With the ark's occupants was preserved the thread of human and animal life. Also, true worship survived, and by means of Noah and his family God carried through the history of creation, along with a system of counting time back to man's creation and the original language later called Hebrew. Noah kept an accurate log of important events during his stay in the ark. GE 7. 11, 12, 24. 8. 2-6, 10, 12-14. Post-flood blessing and rainbow covenant. After about 1 year in the ark, Noah and his family came out onto an earth freshly washed clean. The ark had come to rest in the mountains of the Ararat range. In appreciation for Jehovah's loving kindness, mercy, and protective hand, Noah constructed an altar and offered up some of all the clean beasts and of all the clean flying creatures as a sacrifice to Jehovah. Jehovah was pleased and revealed to Noah that no more would the earth be cursed, nor would God deal everything o text to a acute miritra longo, Nob 508 or reminder, of this covenant. GE 9. 8-17. Isra 54. 9. Noah's intoxication. Noah lived for 350 years after the flood. The account reports, candidly and honestly. Now Noah started off as a farmer and proceeded to plant a vineyard. And he began drinking of the wine and became intoxicated, and so he uncovered himself in the midst of his tent. GE 9. 20, 21 This does not indicate that Noah was a habitual drunkard. The Bible reports this instance to give the background for the incident that accompanied it, which event had a profound effect on world history. Before the flood, Noah was not indulging in the drinking of that wicked society, which they doubtless carried to extremes of drunken revelry. Such things dulled their sensibilities and were no doubt a factor in their ignoring God's warning, taking no note until the flood came and swept them all away. Mount 24. 38, 39. Lu 17. 27. While Noah was asleep in his tent, Ham, and perhaps also his son Canaan, became implicated in some sort of disrespect for Noah. The account reads, "Finally Noah awoke from his wine and got to know what his youngest son had done to him." Generally Ham is understood to be designated here as Noah's youngest son. However, in the Bible, the expression sometimes refers to grandson, who, in this case, was Canaan. Whatever the situation, Canaan's father Ham went telling it to his two brothers instead of himself covering Noah as they did. On learning of the episode, Noah cursed Canaan and blessed Shem's God Jehovah. GE 9. 20-27. Nimrod's rebellion. Noah was the first patriarch of the post-flood society. GE 10. 1-32 Nevertheless, during his lifetime false religion again rose up among those under the leadership of Nimrod, as is seen in their rebellious attempt to build a tower with its top in the heavens for fear that they might be scattered over all the surface of the earth. This was in direct opposition to God's command to fill the earth, and was a rebellion also against Noah's position as God's prophet. Noah died about 2 years before the birth of Abraham. He therefore got to see Jehovah's judgment on the builders of the Tower of Babel and the scattering of those rebellious ones over the face of the earth. Noah and Shem were not involved in the tower building and consequently would not suffer confusion of their language, but would continue to speak man's original language, which God gave to Adam. Ge 9. 1, 28, 29. 11. 1-9. A prophetic pattern. The prophets Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Jesus Christ as well as the apostles Peter and Paul all spoke of God's servant Noah. Noah's days are shown by Jesus and Peter to be prophetic of the presence of the Son of Man and a future day of judgment and of destruction of the ungodly men. Jehovah, in sparing Noah and his family when he destroyed that wicked world, was setting a pattern for ungodly persons of things to come. 2 P 3. 5-7. 2. 5, 6. Isla 54. 9. S 14. 14, 20. Mount 24. 37-39. Heb 11. 7. 1 P 3. 20, 21. 2. Heb. No middle. R. One of Zelophehad's 5 daughters, of the tribe of Manasseh. Because Zelophehad died without sons, Jehovah decreed that the daughters should receive their father's tribal possession as inheritance. This established a legal precedent. Later it was established also that daughters who inherit should become wives of men of their own tribe in order to hold the inheritance, so that it would not circulate from tribe to tribe. New 26. 28-33. 27. 1-11. 36. 6-12. Jos 17. 3, 4. Nob. A city evidently in the territory of Benjamin and close to Jerusalem. While there is some question as to the precise location of Nob, Nehemiah 11. 31, 32 and Isaiah 10. 28-32 indicate that it was near Anathoth and possibly close to a hill from which one could see Jerusalem. Some tentatively identify it with a spot on Ras El Mushref Mount Scopus, about 1.5 kilometers 1 mi of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. That would place it just end of the Mount of Olives. When no textoi acute miritra longo, nose, nostrils 509, 2. A city of the Jordan, captured by Noba. New 32. 39, 42 Evidently the name Noba did not stick, because later it is called by its original name, Kanath. 1 ch2. 23 The ruins at Kanawat, about 90 kilometers 60 mi of Damascus are commonly identified with the ancient site. 3. A place situated east of the Jordan and near Jogbaha in Gad. New 32. 34, 35. JG8. 11 Its precise location is not known today. Noble. See leader, noble, prince. Nodab. One of the confederated groups overwhelmingly defeated with Jehovah's help by the tribes of Reuben and Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh. 1 ch 5. 18-22 Nothing more is known of this tribe, except the possible preservation of the name inlet of the village of New Deb, in the desert of Palestine. Nogar from a root meaning shine. Son of King David, born to him in Jerusalem. 1 ch 3. 5-7. 14. 3-6. Noha from a root meaning rest. Settle down. The fourth listed son of Benjamin. 1 ch 8. 1, 2 Since he is not named among those listed in Genesis chapter 46, he was probably born after the family entered Egypt. Some suppose that Noha was another name for Shephapam or was his descendant. New 26. 39. Neph. The usual Hebrew scripture name for Memphis, an important city of ancient Egypt. Isla 19. 13. Ch2. 16. 44. 1. 46. 14, 19. As 30. 13, 16. See Memphis. Nofar. According to the Masoretic text, apparently a place in Moab. New 21. 29, 30 Such a site is today unknown. North. In addition to the usual terms of fawn, north was also indicated by the direction left, since the orientation was facing toward the rising sun in the east. GE 14. 15. FTN in scriptural usage, North Major Nota section of the Earth PS 107. 3. ISFA 43. 6. Lu 13. 29. A northerly direction X 26. 20. 1 Chi 7. 25. Re 21. 13. The Northern Sky Job 26. 7. And various lands or kingdoms including Assyria's up 2. 13 and Babylonia 46. 10 that was situated somewhat in and of the land inhabited by the Israelites. Though Babylon on the Euphrates River actually lay of Tyre, Ezekiel 26. 7 speaks of the king of Babylon as coming against Tyre from the north. Likewise, the calamity that Judah and Jerusalem were to experience from the Babylonians is referred to as coming out of the north. J 1. 14. 15 The reason for this appears to be that, when marching westward, the Babylonian armies took a northerly route and thus avoided passing through the desert. This was, in fact, the customary way, as Babylonian records show. Since various lands and kingdoms are assigned a northern location, the context and other related scriptures are often helpful in determining what is meant by north or land of the north. For example, Isaiah 21. 2, 9 and Daniel 5. 28 show that the nations from the land of the north mentioned at Jeremiah 50. 9 include the Medes, Persians, and Elamites. Apparently the nations attacking Babylon are viewed as a united army or common foe of Babylon, a congregation. Many of the nations involved were far in Babylonia 51. 27, 28, and much of Media was at least any of Babylon. The attack, too, evidently came from a northern direction, since Cyrus stopped the flow of the river and of the city. The king of the north. Facts of history provide still another basis for determining how north is to be understood in some texts. A case in point is the king of the north mentioned in Daniel chapter 11. Historical evidence indicates that the mighty king of Daniel 11. 3 was Alexander the Great. After Alexander's death, the empire was eventually divided among his 4 generals. One of these generals, Seleucus Nicator, took Mesopotamia and Syria, this making him the ruler of territory situated in Palestine. Another general, Ptolemy Lagus, gained control of Egypt, to the south of Palestine. Therefore, with Seleucus Nicator and Ptolemy Lagus the long struggle between the king of the north and Otextoi acute Muritra longo, nos ring 510 sol. GE 2. 7 This breath of life not only filled the lungs with air, but also imparted to the body the life force that is sustained by breathing. The breath being drawn into the body through the nostrils is essential to life. It sustains the life force. At the flood, everything in which the breath of the force of life was active in its nostrils, namely, all that were on the dry ground, died. GE 7. 22. The Hebrew word for nose or nostrils arf is frequently used to refer to the entire face. Adam was sentenced to earn his livelihood from the ground in the sweat of his face, literally, nose or nostrils. GE 3. 19 Lot bowed down with his face nose to the ground before the visiting angels. GE 19. 1. Sensitivity in smelling and tasting. The olfactory area is located in the upper part of the nasal cavity, where the olfactory nerves terminate in hair-like endings. Also fine endings of the trigeminal nerve are found in this area. The sense of smell in humans is very acute. According to an article in the Scientific American February 1964, p. 42. The sense of smell obviously is a chemical sense, and its sensitivity is proverbial. To a chemist, the ability of the nose to sort out and characterize substances is almost beyond belief. It deals with complex compounds that might take a chemist months to analyze in the laboratory. The nose identifies them instantly, even in an amount so small as little as a 10 millionth of a gram that the most sensitive modern laboratory instruments often cannot detect the substance, let alone analyze and label it. The nose also plays a large part in taste. There are 4 primary tastes: sweet, salt, sour, and bitter. These the taste buds in the mouth recognize. But much of the flavor in food is enjoyed because of the sense of smell. For example, a person whose nostrils are stopped up finds difficulty in distinguishing between 2 kinds of food, as most things then taste more or less flat. Beauty. Being located so prominently, a well-formed nose contributes greatly to facial beauty. In the Song of Solomon 7:4, the Shulamite girl's nose being likened to the Tower of Lebanon may have reference to the symmetry of her nose as adding dignity and beauty to her face. God required that Israel's priests, because they were his representatives before the people, be without blemish, one of the requirements being that no priest should have a slit or mutilated nose. La 21:18. Illustrative and figurative uses. The word for nose or nostril laugh is often used figuratively for anger, because of the violent breathing or snorting of an enraged person. See anger. It is also employed with reference to Jehovah's action, because of his anger. PS 18:8-15, or when he exerts his powerful active force. X 14:21-15:8. The disgusting idolatry into which Israel fell was a cause for the burning anger of Jehovah against them, which he expressed through the prophet Isaiah, saying, "These are as smoke in my nostrils, a fire burning all day long." Issa 65:5. Proverbs 30:32-33 states, "If you have acted senselessly by lifting yourself up, and if you have fixed your thought upon it, put the hand to the mouth. For the churning of milk is what brings forth butter, and the squeezing of the nose is what brings forth blood, and the squeezing out of anger is what brings forth quarreling." This strongly emphasizes the trouble that can be caused by one who speaks wrongly or who harbors up anger or lets it out unrestrained. Here, in a play on words, anger is the dual form of the word for nose. Nose ring. An ornamental ring worn on the nose. It was inserted either through the left or the right side of the nose or through the partition separating the nostrils, and was especially worn by women. GE 24:22-30-47. Issa 3:21. Ishmaelite men, however, according to some translations, also wore nose rings. JG 8:24-26. The Hebrew word for otextoi acute muritra longo, number, numeral 511 measurements are written out in full. Spelling out the numbers provides an added measure of accuracy and dependability in the manuscripts of the Hebrew scriptures, which have been copied many times, for, in copying, a numeral is usually easier to mistake than a word. In Hebrew, numbers above 10 are a combination of words, such as 12, 2 and 10 GE 14. 4, except that 20 is the plural of 10. 30 a plural word derived from 3. 40 a plural word derived from 4, and so on. 100 is a separate word. 200 is the dual form. Other hundreds are composed of two words, as 300. The highest number expressed by one Hebrew word is 20,000, the dual form of 10,000 myriad. Larger numbers are a combination of words. For example, at 1 Chronicles 5:18 the number 44,760 is, literally, 40 and 4,760. A million is written as 1,000 thousands. 2 Ch 14:9 Rebekah's family blessed her, saying, "O you, our sister, may you become thousands times 10,000 literally, thousands of myriads." Rebekah's posterity actually came to number many millions. GE 24:55-16 Daniel's vision Jehovah is shown as having 10,000 times 10,000 literally, a myriad of myriads standing before him. Jar 7:10. Occasionally numbers are used in an approximate sense, as round numbers, for example, at Psalm 90:10, where the psalmist speaks of man's age limit, and possibly also at 1 Kings 19:18, 7,000 who had not bowed to Baal, and 2 Chronicles 14:9 the million Ethiopians defeated by Asa. In the Christian Greek scriptures numerals are generally expressed in words. The number of the wild beast is in words in the Sinaitic and the Alexandrine manuscripts. Re 13:18. Bible usage not numerology. Since the Bible is a book of both history and prophecy, the numbers given therein may be either literal or symbolic. The context usually reveals in which sense a number is used. Certain numbers appear often in the Bible in an illustrative, figurative, or symbolic sense, and in such cases an understanding of their significance is vital to an understanding of the text. However, this Bible usage of numbers should not be confused with numerology, in which occult mysticism is attached to figures, their combinations, and numerical totals. Numerology apparently had its origin in ancient Babylon and, along with other forms of divination, comes under divine condemnation. 18. 10-12. In the following we will discuss a few of the figurative uses of certain numbers that are used prominently in the Bible. 1. This number, when used figuratively, conveys the thought of singleness, uniqueness, as well as unity and agreement in purpose and action. Jehovah our God is one Jehovah, said Moses. 6. For he alone is sovereign. He is unique. He does not share his glory with another, as is the case with pagan Trinitarian gods. Act 4. 24. Re 6. 10. Isra 42. 8. There is oneness in purpose and activity between Jehovah and Jesus Christ. Joe 10. 30. And there should be complete unity of Christ's disciples with God, with his Son, and with one another. Joe 17. 21. 3. 28. Such oneness is illustrated in the marriage arrangement. GE 2. 24. Mount 19. 6. F5. 28-32. 2. The number 2 frequently appears in a legal setting. Agreement in the accounts of 2 witnesses adds to the force of the testimony. 2 witnesses, or even 3, were required to establish a matter before the judges. This principle is also followed in the Christian congregation. 17. 6. 19. 15. Mount 18. 16. 2 Co 13. 1. 1 T 5. 19. Heb 10. 28. God adhered to this principle in presenting his Son to the people as mankind's Savior. Jesus said, "In your own law it is written, the witness of 2 men is true. I am one that bears witness about myself, and the Father who sent me bears witness about me." Joe 8. 17, 18. Doing something a second time. For example, repetition of a statement or vision, o texto e acute muritra longo, number, numeral 512. Good news, that God was now turning his attention to uncircumcised people of the nations, considered unclean by the Jews. Act 10. 1-16, 28-35, 47, 48. The intensity of Jehovah's holiness and cleanness is emphasized by the declaration of heavenly creatures. Holy, holy, holy is Jehovah. Isra 6. 3. Re 4. 8. Before taking the last earthly king of the line of David off the throne, Jehovah said, "A ruin, a ruin, a ruin I shall make it. As for this also, it will certainly become no one's until he comes who is the legal right, and I must give it to him." Here he emphatically showed there would be no Davidic kings sitting upon the throne at Jerusalem in his name. The throne would be absolutely vacant until God's time to establish his Messiah in kingdom power. As 21. 27. The intensity of woes to come to those dwelling on earth is forecast by the triple repetition of the declaration woe. Re 8. 13. 4. 4 is a number sometimes expressing universalness or foursquareness in symmetry and form. It is found 3 times at Revelation 7. 1. Here the 4 angels, all those in charge of the 4 winds, ready for complete destruction, stood on earth's 4 corners. They could let loose the winds obliquely or diagonally, and no quarter of the earth would be spared. Compared I 8. 8. Isra 11. 12. Jah 49. 36. Zek 2. 6. Mount 24. 31. The New Jerusalem is 4 square, equal in every dimension, being in fact cubical in shape. Re 21. 16 other figurative expressions using the number 4 are found at Zechariah 1. 18-21. 6. 1-3. Revelation 9. 14, 15. 6. This number at times represents imperfection. The number of the wild beast is 666 and is called a man's number, indicating that it has to do with imperfect, fallen man, and it seems to symbolize the imperfection of that which is represented by the wild beast. The number 6 being emphasized to a third degree, the 6 appearing in the position of units, tens, and hundreds therefore highlights the imperfection and deficiency of that which the beast represents, or pictures. Re 13. 18. 7. 7 is used frequently in the scriptures to signify completeness. At times it is referenced to bringing work toward completion. Or it can refer to the complete cycle of things as established or allowed by God. By completing his work toward the earth in 6 creative days and resting on the 7th day, Jehovah set the pattern for the whole Sabbath arrangement, from the 7-day week to the Jubilee year that followed a 7 times 7 year cycle. Acts 20. 10. 25. 2, 6, 8. The festival of unleavened bread and the festival of booths were each 7 days long. Acts 34. 18. 23. 34:7 appears often in connection with the Levitical rules for offerings. 4. 6. 16. 14, 19. New 28. 11 and for cleansings. 14. 7, 8, 16, 27, 51. 2 Chi 5. 10. The 7 congregations of Revelation, with their characteristics, give a complete picture of all the congregations of God on earth. Re 1. 20. 3. 22. The 7 heads of the wild beast. Re 13. 1 showed the limit to which the beast would be allowed to develop. Although the scarlet-colored wild beast is called an 8th king, it springs from the 7 and does not exist apart from the 7-headed wild beast. Re 17. 3, 9-11, as is true also of the image of the wild beast. Re 13. 14. Similarly, the 2-horned wild beast is actually coexistent with the original wild beast, whose mark it tries to put on all persons. Re 13. 11, 16, 17. Jehovah was long-suffering with Israel but warned them that if, despite his discipline, they ignored him, he would then chastise them 7 times, thoroughly, for their sins. 26. 18, 21, 28. In historical sections of the scriptures, 7 frequently occurs to denote completeness, or doing a work completely. The Israelites exercised full faith and obedience by marching for 7 days around Jericho, encompassing it 7 times on the O Textoi Acute Muritra Longo. Numbers, Book of 513. Things of God's adversary, Satan the devil, in his all-out fight to oppose God and his people. Re 1. 4, 12, 16. 5. 1, 6. 8. 2. 10. 3. 12. 3. 13. 1. 15. 1, 7. 17. 3, 10. And other texts. Multiples of 7 are used in a similar sense of completeness. 70 10 times 7 is employed prophetically in the 70 weeks of Daniel's prophecy dealing with Messiah's coming. Dar 9. 24-27. See 70 weeks. Jerusalem and Judah lay desolate 70 years, because of disobedience to God, until the land had paid off completely its Sabbaths. 2 Ch 36. 21. J 25. 11. 29. 10. Dar 9. 2. Zek 1. 12. 7. 5. 77. A repetition of 7 in a number was equivalent to saying indefinitely or without limit. Jesus counsels Christians to forgive their brothers to that extent. Mount 18. 21, 22. Since God had ruled that anyone killing Cain, the murderer, must suffer vengeance 7 times, Lamech, who apparently killed a man in self-defense, said, if 7 times Cain is to be avenged, then Lamech 70 times and 7. Ge 4. 15, 23, 24. 8. The number 8 was also used to add emphasis to the completeness of something one more than 7, the number generally used for completeness, thus sometimes representing abundance. Jehovah reassured his people of deliverance from the threat of Assyria, saying that there should be raised up against the Assyrians 7 shepherds, yes, not merely 7, but 8 dukes of mankind. Mic 5. 5 is a fitting climax to the final festival of the sacred year, the Festival of Booths. The 8th day was to be one of holy convention, solemn assembly, a day of complete rest. 23. 36, 39. New 29. 35. 10. 10 is a number denoting fullness, entirety, the aggregate, the sum of all that exists of something. It may be noted also that, where the numbers 7 and 10 are used together, the 7 represents that which is higher or superior, and 10 represents something of a subordinate nature. The 10 plagues poured upon Egypt fully expressed God's judgments upon Egypt. All that were needed to humiliate fully the false gods of Egypt and to break the hold of Egypt upon God's people Israel. The 10 words formed the basic laws of the law covenant, the approximately 600 other laws merely enlarging on these, elucidating them, and explaining their application. X 20. 3-17. 34. 28 Jesus used the number 10 in several of his illustrations to denote entirety or the full number of something. Mount 25. 1. Lu 15. 8. 19. 13, 16, 17. One of the beasts of Daniel's vision and certain beasts described in Revelation had 10 horns. These evidently represented all the powers, or kings, of earth making up the beastly arrangement. Dar 7. 7, 20, 24. Re 12. 3. 13. 1. 17. 3, 7, 12. The fullness of the test or period of test that God determines for his servants or allows them to undergo is expressed at Revelation 2. 10. Do not be afraid of the things you are about to suffer. Look. The devil will keep on throwing some of you into a prison that you may be fully put to the test, and that you may have tribulation 10 days. 12. The patriarch Jacob had 12 sons, who became the foundations of the 12 tribes of Israel. Their offspring were organized by God under the law covenant as God's nation. 12 therefore seems to represent a complete, balanced, divinely constituted arrangement. GE 35. 22. 49. 28 Jehovah chose 12 apostles, who formed the secondary foundations of the New Jerusalem, built upon Jesus Christ. Mount 10. 2-4. Re 21. 14 There are 12 tribes of the sons of spiritual Israel, each tribe consisting of 12,000 members. Re 7. 4-8. Multiples of 12 are also sometimes significant. David established 24 divisions of the priesthood to serve by turn in the temple later built by Solomon. 1 ch 24. 1-18 This assists in identifying the 24 elders who were seated round about God's throne in white outer garments and who were wearing crowns. Re 4. For the footstep text to acute miritra longo Numbers, Book of 514 Moab. The narrative primarily covers a period of 38 years and 9 months, from 1512 to 1473 BCE. New 1. 1. 3, 4 Although occurring earlier than the events in the surrounding material, the happenings narrated at Numbers 7. 1-88 and 9. 1-15 provide background information that forms an essential part of the book. Ridership. The ridership of the Book of Numbers has from ancient times been attributed to Moses. Ample evidence in the book itself confirms this. There is no hint of any other life than that experienced by Israel in Egypt and then in the wilderness. In commenting about the time Hebron was built, the writer used the Egyptian city of Zoan as a reference point. New 13. 22 The age of Zoan would reasonably be common knowledge to a man like Moses, who was instructed in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. Acts 7. 22. Certain commands recorded in the Book of Numbers are unique to the circumstances of a nation on the move. These include the prescribed tribal encampments. New 1. 52, 53. The order of a historical narrative that demonstrates how vital it is to obey Jehovah under all circumstances and to respect his representatives covers events during most of the time Israel was in the wilderness en route to the Promised Land. The tribes of Israel are registered and organized about a year after the exodus from Egypt. All Israelite males 20 years old and over are registered, with the exception of the Levites 1-49. Each three-tribe division is assigned a place to camp and a position in the order of march to 1-34. The Levites are set apart to assist the priests. All Levites over a month old are registered. They are taken by Jehovah in exchange for the firstborn of the other tribes. 1-51. The male offspring of Kohath, Gershon, and Merari, the three sons of Levi, from 30 to 50 years of age are numbered and given service assignments for 1-49. Another census is taken of the Israelites shortly before they enter the Promised Land. 26. 1-65. Israelites receive divine commands regarding their worship and their dealings with one another. Requirements are set out for Nazir. 6. 1-21. The Passover is observed. Provision is made so that anyone unclean or on a distant journey can observe it a month after Nisan. 14. 9. 1-14. Various regulations are given involving the duties and the privileges of priests and Levites, including the preparation of the water for cleansing and its uses. 18. 1. 19. 22. The offerings are listed that must be presented each day, each Sabbath, at the start of each month, during festivals, and during the seventh month. 28. 1. 29. 40. Jehovah's commands governing vows are recorded. 30. 1-16. Guilty ones must confess and compensate the wronged party. 5. 5-8. A procedure is established for handling cases when a wife is suspected of secret adultery. 5. 11-31. Arrangements are made for 6 cities of refuge. 35. 9-34. Israelites manifest a lack of appreciation for Jehovah's provisions, and they disobey his commands. The people complain about eating manna and long for meat. When Jehovah provides quail, many act with extreme greed and are punished with death. 11. 4-34. They believe the bad report of the 10 fearful spies and want to return to Egypt. Moses has to intercede for them. 13. 1. 14. 19. When that rebellious generation is sentenced to wander and die in the wilderness, the people attempt to enter the Promised Land without Jehovah's blessing, and they suffer a military defeat. 14. 26-45. There is a failure to respect Jehovah's visible representatives. Miriam and Aaron speak out against Moses. Jehovah strikes Miriam with leprosy. 12. 1-15. Korah, Dathan, Abiram, On, and 250 chieftains range themselves against Moses and Aaron. Jehovah executes the rebels, and this gives rise to further murmuring. 14,700 more die. 16. 1-50. Ado text to acute miritra longo, nurse 515 March 2. 9, 16, 17, 24, 31, and the trumpet signals for convening the assembly and for breaking camp. 10. 2-6. Also, the law concerning quarantine is worded to fit camp life. 5. 2-4. Various other commands are stated in such a way as to call for a future application when the Israelites would be residing in the Promised Land. Among these are the use of trumpets for sounding war calls. 10. 9. The setting aside of 48 cities for the Levites. 35. 2-8. The action to be taken against idolatry and the inhabitants of Canaan. 33. 50-56. The selection of 6 cities of refuge. Instructions for handling cases of persons claiming to be accidental manslayers. 35. 9-33, and laws involving inheritance and marriage of heiresses. 27. 8-11. 36. 5-9. Additionally, the recording of the Israelite encampments is definitely ascribed to Moses. New 33. 2, and the concluding words of the Book of Numbers also point to him as the writer of the account. 36. 13. Authenticity. The authenticity of the book is established beyond any doubt. Outstanding is its candor. Wrong conduct and defeat are not concealed. U 11. 1-5, 10, 32-35. 14. 2, 11, 45. Even the transgressions of Moses himself, his brother Aaron, his sister Miriam, and his nephews Nadab and Abihu are exposed. 3. 3, 4. 12. 1-15. 20. 2-13 repeatedly, happenings recorded in the book are recounted in the Psalms 78. 14-41. 95. 7-11. 105. 40, 41. 106. 13-33. 135. 10, 11. 136. 16-20. By their allusions to major events and other details in Numbers, Joshua 4. 12. 14. 2, Jeremiah 2:18. 4, Nehemiah 9. 19-22, David PS 95. 7-11, Isaiah 48. 21, Ezekiel 20. 13-24, Hosea 9. 10, Amos 5. 25, Micah 6. 5, the Christian martyr Stephen Acts 7. 36, the Apostles Paul 1:10. 1-11 and Peter 2:2. 15, 16, the disciple Jude verses 11, and the Son of God Joe 3. 14. Re 2. 14 showed that they accepted this record as part of God's inspired word. There is also Balaam's prophecy regarding the star that would step forth out of Jacob, which is its initial fulfillment when David became king and thereafter subdued the Moabites and Edomites. New 24. 15-19. 2-8. 2, 13, 14. Value. The Book of Numbers forcefully illustrates the importance of obedience to Jehovah, respect for him and his servants, the need for faith and guarding against ungodly men. New 13. 25. 14. 38. 22. 7, 8, 22. 26. 9, 10. Hub 3. 7. 4. 11. 2 PE 2. 12-16. Jude 11. Re 2. 14. Not faithlessly putting Jehovah to the test. New 21. 5, 6. 1-10. 9, as well as refraining from murmuring. New 14. 2, 36, 37. 16. 1-3, 41. 17. 5, 10. 1-10. 10, 11 and sexual immorality. New 25. 1-9. 31. 16. 1-10. 6, 8. Jehovah's dealings with Israel give evidence of his great power, mercy, and loving kindness, as well as his being slow to anger, though not withholding punishment when deserving. New 14. 17-20. Further, the position and ministry of Moses. New 12. 7. Hub 3. 2-6, the miraculous provision of water from the rock mass. New 20. 7-11. 1-10. 4, the lifting up of the copper serpent. New 21. 8, 9. Joe 3. 14, 15, and the water of cleansing. New 19. 2-22. Hub 9. 13, 14 provided prophetic pictures that were fulfilled in Christ Jesus. The account provides background material that illuminates other scriptures. It shows on what basis Judean King Hezekiah was able to arrange the Passover on Ziviyah 14, instead of Nisan Abib 14. New 9. 10, 11. 2ch 30. 15. The full discussion of Natsiroteship. New 6. 2-21 explains why Samson and Samuel were not to have their hair cut. JG 13. 4, 5. 1 11 and why John the Baptist was not to drink intoxicating beverages. Blue 1. 15. For additional examples, compare Numbers 2. 18-23 and Psalm 80. 2. Numbers 15. 38 and Matthew 23. 5. Numbers 17. 8-10 in Hebrews 9. 4. Numbers 18. 26 in Hebrews 7. 5-9. Numbers 18. 31 in 1 Corinthians 9. 13, 14. Numbers 28.